Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I have another film review. This time I'm trying out a Reto Glow 400. This is 400 speed color film. It is lower contrast, got a warmer tint and produces desaturated muted tones. There are 27 exposures per roll. The canister is traditional metallic with DX code. That was pretty surprising when I took the film out of the box, because normally all these newer experimental films usually come in plastic canisters without any DX code. I decided to test it out for macro photography that I haven't done before, so this was also my first time trying to do macro photos, especially after I got a bunch of macro rings for my M42 lenses. For my photos I have used only these two macro rings. I was using 20mm and 11mm, and for some shots I combined these two together. Since I was using these macro rings, I knew that they will cut the light that gets into the lens, so I had to meter accordingly. So I metered this film at ISO 100, which gave me roughly 2 extra stops of light. I think it was a good guess from my side, so I ended up with properly exposed negatives. For my camera I have used Pentax Spotmatic with Helios lens. It got broken light meter, so I had to use a Konica, and since I was able to get close to my subjects for macro photos, external light meter is not a bad idea to use. Helios is one of my favorite lenses. I use it on my film camera as well as on my digital camera. I do like how it blurs the background, and if you shoot towards the light source, it produces really nice lens flares, and I like good lens flares. Also, this lens is relatively cheap and can be adapted to pretty much any camera, film or digital. The base of this film is green. It does look a little bit similar to Wolfen NC500 or Loma Metropolis. I did a comparison between those three, and even though there is a slight difference between those negatives, and I think it comes from different exposures of all of these three films initially, when I scanned the photos, I kinda got the same results that I have gotten always Metropolis and Wolfen. I tend to think it's all the same film. All of these photos were converted with a negative lab Pro version 3. I haven't sampled white balance on the film border before converting these negatives, because you don't really have to do that anymore with this plugin. For my white balance in the negative lab Pro adjustments, I have chosen I think auto neutral. That's what I pick most of the time. And for the profile, I've chosen either lab soft or one of those linear profiles. So I guess you can say these photos were not edited, even though I think they are as soon as they go through the conversion process. But this is just my opinion on edited versus unedited film photos. Overall, I like my results with this film. I do like these muted tones and the way reds are rendered. I also like the way the greens look a little bit more towards cyan, and I think this works with the way reds look on this film. Of course, this is just another experimental film, which is not meant to show true-to-life colors. So I also had this roll of Konica Centuria 100. This one was expired 22 years ago, and I decided to give it a try. So I metered it at ISO 15 or something like that. I tried to go as low as I could. This one has expired color film look, even though this is supposed to be ISO 100. There is a heavy grain, there is mostly green tint in the shadows, and there are some abstract color leaks. I'm not sure how exactly to describe this, but this is what I get 99% of the time whenever I shoot this heavily expired film. This is definitely not the developing issue, and I used to think that way up until I developed expired and fresh film in the same tank at the same time. And another thing about expired color film is usually the negatives come out pretty dark, so they are absolutely not good for darkroom printing, but you can scan them without any problems and get decent images.